What's up, everybody? Welcome to the House of Nerds show. And guess what? Now Sergio or Elle is here. This is Marquelon 𝐬𝐤𝐬. I got the show today. Y'all didn't know that was happening, but I did. So I want to welcome everybody to today's House of Nerds show. Once again, my name is Marquelon 𝐬𝐤𝐬, longtime comic book collector, formerly the Pool Kings, and I'm here with some of my original comic book crew right here. So this is a special show. It's Mother's Day. So of course I want to welcome, tell everybody Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers who are watching the show today, or watch the show in the review later on. And I'm gonna introduce my comic book crew. Back in Atlanta in the early days, the 2000s and stuff like that, when I was getting back into comic books. These are the guys that kind of held me down, and this is when I flourished into a whole new level of just understanding what comics were about, what made them so good. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, and I'm gonna start over here. For y'all, those of you watching, I see this in a square. So I'm gonna go over to what appears to be my right, which is Kevin. So Kevin, go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell us briefly how you started in comics.
Okay. Kevin Patrick, former art educator, now survivor.
And dramatic pause specialist.
He may have frozen. Did he freeze?
He's frozen. He's frozen.
All right. Well,
my phone keeps jumping.
There he is.
All right, go ahead, Kevin.
I'm back. I'm sorry. I don't know why my phone keeps clicking out.
But you say you're an art survivor?
Yeah, I'm art survivor. I battle to keep making art, but art survivor. And shit. What's the last question? What was
how did you get started reading comics?
First comic?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I started reading comics because I like to draw. And a lot of people at that age, and this has to be about first, second grade, would have comic books or whatever, and we'd sit around and just draw the shit we saw in comics. So it got me, and I love stories. So I got sucked in. So I think probably the earliest comic I probably read was funny enough, Super Friends, because of course Super Friends was on TV, so it connected with the cartoon, so it connected with what I saw, and that's when I first started in comics. And then after that, it's Avengers and Justice League, and then New Teen Titans. That's the beginning of my comic journey.
Okay, so you went from Super Friends to good? Avengers and Teen Titans. Okay, that's a heck of a jump.
Man, it was a jump, but understand at that time, Super Friends, of course, as time passed, became Justice League. So when I was reading Justice League, George Perez, who recently passed, was the artist on Justice League. He had also been the artist on the Avengers, and that's probably some of the first comics I ever read was the Avengers. And in fact, the Korvac saga, he drew the bulk of that.
Yeah.
But I can remember that from third grade, and that's the comic that changed me. And that's the artist, even though he just passed recently. That's the artist that got me. I can draw that too. Damn it.
Okay, all right then. Okay, so we're gonna transition down to Marcus. So Marcus, introduce yourself in the same question. How did you start reading comics?
Man, I had this cousin in Memphis, Tennessee, and that's where my family's from. And when we would go down there and visit from Chicago, he had all these books. I was like 5, and he had all these books in his room and everything. So I would always just be getting into them. And he was pretty gracious about it. He'd be like, all right, man, check it out. So I remember the first book that I looked at was Legion of Superheroes. And it attracted me because of not only the art, but the story. And, I was young and I'm just used to how we package things for kids, things should be nice and everything should be a happy ending. Well, the Legion wasn't that. I think the first story I read was the one when they thought Ultra Boy had died.
Okay.
And, I'm like 6 and I was like, what the fuck? He died? Saying he gets swallowed by this thing and they were mourning. So it wasn't that you just thought he was dead. It wasn't like your usual hero and peril story. It was he got swallowed. They had a couple issues where they were actually mourning him before he eventually shows back up. So it was crazy because I was I'm going through this whole process. I'm like, damn, that was low. I can't see y'all.
We hear you.
Oh yeah.
We're here.
Oh, my
We're here.
computer. No,
Yeah.
the time. All right. So I'm going through this whole kind of grieving process with them. Like, man, that's jacked up. What happened to dude, man? They just let him get swallowed by that beast. Man, fucked up. Life, huh? At 6.
And
And
you,
then
and
he
you,
swells back up. So after that, I was like, look, from there, it was X-Men, then Avengers, John Byrne when he was doing Superman, and Fantastic Four, and all of that. I'd always been, I like the art, but I've been more on stories. And then, like, when I got into Vertigo in like the 90s, and Sandman and Hellblazer, then I was really like, what the fuck? Like, WTF? Like, what the, all that. So, and then it tied into like my love of horror. So from there, it just went on and on. So I like stories, and I like how it's like a variation upon myth and how it all ties together. So yeah, that's me. Shot
I
time.
can dig it. And how old were you reading that Legion of Superheroes when the boy just died? How old were you?
About like 6, man.
So you're 6 years old reading the cover like he's dead? What?
Yeah, like, still dead, man. They killed him.
Oh man, everybody has a story. All right, and last is Damon. I see Targaryen Watson. So tell us how you got into comics. Tell us about yourself and how you got into comics.
Yes, I rep that. I did a whole personality test. There was that it was a hybrid of Harry Potter and Game of Thrones to figure out what 2 houses you are. And I'm a Slytherin Targaryen. So I embrace
right there. Okay,
I embrace that.
It makes sense.
But yeah, man. All right. So I'm Damon Watson. Damon is my real name. My initials really are DT Watson. But yeah, lawyer and on the regular world, whatever. And let's see, government, whatever else. But how did I get into in the comic books? I'd say I was 11 years old, no, 10, because the Batman, the 89 Batman movie had just dropped, I still had that Prince album and everything, So anyway, when that dropped, I was curious about the Batman comic book. My grandmother got me Detective Comics. And so I remember reading that, and I was loving the art. And so I was in the 5th grade, and then by the time I went to 6th grade, this kid I was sitting next to, we ended up being best friends. But he started talking about comic books. I didn't know much about it, and so I ended up picking up my very first X-Men comic book at the grocery store. My grandmother, she was always, every time we went to the grocery store, she'd get me a comic book because it's just something I was into because this kid introduced me to it, and then that's when I eventually started reading. Going to the comic book store and all the rest of it and getting immersed in the culture. But I'll never forget, it was, I came in the middle of X-Men. It was Uncanny X-Men, Extinction Agenda Part 4. And
you gonna say that, y'all. I've heard the story, but I knew you were
going to say
it. Go ahead.
I didn't hear
it. Tell everybody in the world now.
I'm going to tell it, man. So that right there, that was my introduction into real comic book collecting, and eventually, I got into the Spider-Man and the rest of it. But I was mainly about those mutant books, and that kept me fed. But if it wasn't that, if it was DC, then it was Batman for me. I didn't want to hear about anybody else. So I started growing in that, over time, and so now, I embrace all the sci-fi and everything, but X-Men and Batman is still, they still run high on my list.
All right, then. So first, I want to make sure I say shout out to Nerdette's Newsstand. Hear her comment again. She says, "Good morning, guys." So I've welcomed her to the House of Nerds show. And make sure while I'm running my banners right now, please remember to smash that like button and subscribe. So guys, I'm gonna make sure y'all got the link to this show later on, so y'all can share it in different groups y'all in as well, so people can go back and relook at it as well, and let y'all friends and family see y'all. So let me answer the question myself. So I started reading my first comic book. I remember was a New Mutants book my father had. I was like 4 years old. I don't remember what happened, but I remember it was The Brood. I guess, and Kevin, Marcus, y'all probably remember it better than I do. For
Yeah.
Professor X was a brood or something like that, and he was trying to take over the New Mutants or something on the low.
Yeah, and they had to kill him.
Right. So that was my introduction to comic books. I'm like, what is going on
Wow.
here? But the first comic book I actually remember my father buying for me and made me a collector was an Uncanny X-Men 227, the conclusion to Fallen Mutants. When in the end of the story, they thought the X-Men team had died, and they ended up in the Australian outback. And that's when I got hooked. I was like, this is what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of my life. Buying comic books, trying to see what happened, to the next characters and stuff like that. So, all right. So we talked about that. First comic book. All right. So I'm gonna throw this over to Kev first because I know you're gonna give the. And y'all understand Kevin has a master's in sequential art. Am I right in that? From
Yes, sir.
Design.
Yes, sir.
So this dude's got education.
I am an art educator.
You got the pedigree
from SCAD.
From SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design.
Top
Right.
of the line, baby. Don't get no
so
better
Kevin,
than that.
All right. So
That's
I know
what
you're
they
an artist.
say.
I know you're an artist first and foremost, but let's
Yes,
start
sir.
a writer. Who is your favorite writer? Comic book
My
writer.
favorite writer.
Uh-huh.
You get into the historian in me, but my favorite writer would probably, if I stay consistent, right now, my favorite writer remains John Byrne. John Byrne.
John Byrne is controversial now, so tell us why.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I must say he's good at what he can do.
Oh,
Like he can try a lot of different stuff, but the things he's good at, tried and true, he's good. You know what I mean? And it's very I think it's very, as John Byrne, it's very time consistent, so it's very 80s, 90s to me. Even though I think he hit his stride in the 2000s when he was doing.
I like how you put that, though. I like how you put it. He's good at what he can do. There's nothing wrong with trying new things. You got to do that. But what you're good at, just be good at what you do.
Yeah. Kevin, did you mute yourself? Because I lost your audio. I lost your audio, Kev.
We can't hear you, Kev.
And I think he froze again. So if he doesn't come back in a minute, Marcus, I'm going to let you pick up from there.
I'm just going to keep calling it a dramatic pause. That man made no mistakes. His tech is still working. He's just doing that on purpose.
That's all right.
Right,
Well, Marcus,
right.
you go ahead and pick up from there. Who's your favorite writer?
Man, you know what? That's the question. It's evolved like over time.
Okay, all right. I want to hear about the evolution of it. That's what I want to hear.
So, I think when we were back in Atlanta, when we were back in Georgia, Warren Ellis, man. I was Warren Ellis's bitch. Like that
was
global
too.
Okay.
That global frequency issue number
Yes.
one was so fucking dope to me. Then I kind of went, once I hit the Vertigo era, shit, man, Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman. I love what Rodney Barnes is doing and what is doing now. Definitely big up to Rodney Barnes. But I'm gonna have to say, and this is weird. It may seem weird, y'all. Bill Willingham, man.
No, that's not weird. That's not weird.
All right. So tell us why.
Talking about Fables?
Yeah,
Nah.
he talking about Bill Willingham Fables. He talking about Bill Willingham who wrote Fables.
That wrote it. That's what I'm talking about. That wrote it. Not necessarily
Elementals.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Marcus
put me on Elementals. So tell him about Elementals.
The book he had in the 80s. Basically, there's this imbalance in the in the world or whatever like that. So the spirits of air, fire, water, and earth choose 4 dead individuals and inhabit their bodies to right this balance. And I just really like that story because it played into a lot of things. It played into a lot of, themes as far as like, what is it to be a hero? And that if you're a hero, you're still a person. That's what I loved about it because they were like still people. They weren't like held to this high moral standard. And really, they weren't even trying to reach it. They were trying to deal with their situation, So, and a lot of people would get caught up in that and die because of it, and they had a handler because, of course, the government got involved. I like the nuts and bolts. I like to see how the sausage is made with things, So if you're gonna have like a hero, there's no way Superman would be running around without some government involvement. You know what I'm saying? There's no way you're gonna form a Justice League without a government like, hey, y'all come over here for a second. We need to talk about some stuff. Here's what you can do, here's what you're not gonna do, or whatever like that. So I like that part of it. So and they had this handler, Porter Scott. That was my guy.
I like Porter Scott too.
Yeah, Porter Scott was my guy, man.
Marcus put me on the Elementals. He did, and gave me his collection. I read it like in one night or 2 nights, whatever.
Oh man! So I got introduced to it by this dude named Chris, and I was talking about, yeah, man, X-Men, the Avengers, and stuff like that. And he looked at me, and he was like, "Man, you poor, uneducated fool." He brought out the whole series. He pulled out a box with the whole series. And he let me read that stuff. I stayed over that dude's house for like 2 days reading that series.
It take about 2 days to read it all.
Yeah, I was like just mind blown, like with all the involvement and everything like that. And that began my whole love of like kind of all things 80s as far as like comics, sci-fi, and horror. Man, the 80s was like out of control, man. They were dope. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Bill Willingham, not just for Elementals, but that on top of Fables.
Okay.
You know, and this dude's a good, and Pantheon. Yeah. Pantheon is like, if he could have finished Elementals, you know, that's what he wanted to do. Was a whole other Justice League thing, like a mock-up of the Justice League, and it's like they were like, hey, well, you know what? We're tired of just going by the law. We just gonna make the world right. You know, and how that plays out. And the government was like, okay, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, check it out. So yeah, Bill Willingham, that's my answer.
All right, Bill Willingham. All right, David, what's your answer? Favorite comic book writer?
So, okay, I was going to lead off with Todd McFarlane and Chris Claremont early.
Okay.
I was.
That's an interesting topic.
But Marcus said a name that made complete sense, and I had to change my order up a little bit. Warren Ellis. I got it, and I got to rock with him because this one's on you, Mark. For my birthday, you got me.
I know what it is.
You got me Planetary. And man, when I read that, I was like, yo, this is it. This is my man right here, right? You know, I gotta rock with because there was a little break in my actual comic book collecting. So when I first came in, I'm gonna go with, you know, Chris Claremont, because again, that was my first stories that I was keeping up with. The first comic book I ever got was done. It was just, you know, I was 10 years old, so I'm really seeing the art. So it was Norm Brayfogle, just on art at first, right? So paying attention to stories, that was Extinction Agenda, and I was a little bit confused, but I thought it was interesting, and so he had me hooked. So I gotta give it to Claremont on that. Todd McFarlane, he made Spider-Man something that I found interesting. I didn't find him interesting outside of him. There was McFarlane, Eric Larson following McFarlane, and years later when Miller got a hold of him. You know, I like that. You know, and then for Daredevil, Brian Michael Bendis. Okay. So I gotta do that.
See, y'all influencing my stuff because y'all already know. But see, I've shared books with y'all. Y'all share books with me, so y'all already know. So for me, you know, it was going to be Chris Claremont. Like Mark says, an evolution as you get older. It was Chris Claremont. Because especially, I started rereading old Chris Claremont stuff last night. Like when Rachel Summers came to the X-Men and she was trying to kill Selene, all that. You know, it started because Marcus, you made me go back and reread that issue when Wolverine led Colossus in his butt by the Juggernaut. I went back to reread that, and I'm like, man, this is petty as hell right here. And from that point on, I started reading. I'm like, damn, this was some really good stuff, you know, in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so just like I said, it starts with Chris Claremont, and then as I start to branch out more and more, it becomes Warren Ellis because of Planetary. and Global Frequency. And then, of course, Warren Ellis has gotten into trouble for running his harem of, of chicks over the years. So, he has. Warren Ellis is in trouble for that, because he basically was like, I got a harem of fangirls. I'm going to run them, as some people would do. And then I would say I transferred to Hickman, Jonathan Hickman, not off of Avengers, but off of his Fantastic Four run.
Okay.
That's what made me a fan of Hickman. His Fantastic Four run. He killed Johnny Storm, and he did Future Foundation book where he brought in Peter Parker's member of the team. And then everybody, and of course Hickman, because he's done with X-Men most recently with Krakoa, the Age of Krakoa and stuff like that.
Yeah, he confused me on that. That was my intro to him.
But I think I'm gonna finally land on right now is Rodney Barnes. I always like to see a brother do well in comics, and that brother. And not just on comics, but on American Gods, on Heels, on Wu-Tang, on
that's my dude, man.
Rodney Barnes is.
Don't forget Winning Time, the Lakers.
Winning time. So,
Mark, let me be your free safety. Because I see you about to let this get by you. Christopher Priest. I thought you were about to bring him up. I know you.
I love Priest.
I know you talk about that man all the time.
I am a Priest fan. I am a Priest fan, and he's my definitive Black Panther writer. But right now, I'm gonna give it to Rodney Barnes. Okay. Rodney Barnes. So if I'm gonna rank him, Rodney Barnes, probably Hickman. Well, now probably Rodney Barnes, Warren Ellis, Hickman, Claremont. That's probably my four right now.
Okay.
I appreciate that move from you, Dane. But also, we're forgetting one other person, dude.
Who?
Hudlin?
Dwayne McDuffie, man.
Oh man, Dwayne McDuffie.
Yeah.
The man. The reason why John Stewart, Green Lantern, the Black Green Lantern,
he's alive. It's Dwayne McDuffie.
Yeah.
Because me and Marcus talk all the time. There was a concerted effort to eventually kill John Stewart. He was always making mistakes, blowing up planets and stuff. He's always getting crippled and stuff. It was like they were just one step away from killing him. And Dwayne McDuffie put him in that Justice League cartoon, and he got so popular, it just blew up.
Dwayne, my intro to him was in my intro to Dwayne was on that JLU, Justice League and JLU. Man, that stuff, that writing was just amazing to me. I loved all of it.
Now, if y'all can talk about Dwayne McDuffie, you got to bring in the milestone stuff, especially.
I was just about to say milestone.
And Icon. I'll go back and read. Y'all know this story. I met Dwayne McDuffie at San Diego Comic Con and had him autograph all my first milestone issues, which were stolen from me years later. And I was like, that's the only thing I can't get back because for y'all watching don't know, Dwayne McDuffie has passed. But he had a very active form. Cause I remember Marcus, you and I was on it, and you could talk to Dwayne McDuffie. He would answer your questions like, "Oh,
yeah, man." So he was very engaging, and I was really appreciative, of him for that. He was really engaging. He talked about, because that's when I was like really serious about getting into the business on the writing side. And he was very helpful and just like, hey man, if you got stories, I'll check them out and stuff like that too. Another thing, Rodney Barnes is engaging too.
Yeah, Rodney Barnes.
I'm pretty sure. Let me shamelessly plug. Because the brother did the Blackula.
He got the Blackula, man.
The Blackula in the graphic novel, which is dope. I was like, man, he is so good.
Who drew that Blackula? Who drew the Blackula? I'm sorry. Who drew Blackula?
Is that Jason
Sean Alexander?
Wow. Okay.
Jason Sean.
Go ahead.
It's a dope. It's a dope graphic novel. Check it out. It made me rewatch the Blackula movie, and I was like, wow. Dracula's an asshole. So it's like,
he only grabbed the African prince and took his woman and turned the man into a vampire. Yeah, I think it would qualify.
And it's like, it's not far. It's not a big reach. You're like, well, why wouldn't Dracula be racist? Like, yeah, okay, like, he's everything else. You know what I'm saying? Because there's always been this thing about Dracula, like he's like the noble fiend. Which are like oxymoron. You cannot be noble in a fiend. You just.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna have to think on that one. I might end up disagreeing with that.
You use
You can have a
nobility to attract the
pretense
people.
of
To
nobility.
attract the people. That's what it is. It's designed to attract its victims. You know.
Right. You can have a pretense of nobility and honor, but when it gets down to it, it's about the blood, baby.
And in that Blackula,
He's a predator,
Right,
and
exactly.
a scavenger.
I would say
Exactly.
this, going back to my movie, my favorite on-screen, well, one of my favorite on-screen villains, Stephen Dorff did this when he was Deacon Frost. He said, "Why are we hiding from these people? These people are our food."
Yeah,
I'm like,
that. In Blade, yeah.
yes.
Our food.
And then what was the other one? 30 Days of Night. What I appreciated about it, you know, is they didn't just like Dorff's character, they didn't even have the pretense of caring to speak English language or any human language. They knew how to speak it, and they did demonstrate that they could, but they didn't care. And they were just, I mean, all their teeth, their entire row of teeth were like sharks. And so it was just them out for themselves. I love the lack of pretense, the honesty.
And, you know,
Well, I would say this, because one thing I've always been like not interested in is like humanity's response to monstrosity. You know, and I think monsters are like right to be afraid of humanity.
Yeah.
Because when it comes down to, first of all, more humans than monsters, and you can be super strong, you can be fast and all that, but like when humanity, like when people get together, first of all, people are the real monsters.
Okay, True Blood.
Mob action is like worse than any demon, any Frankenstein, whatever like that. Mob action.
I feel like he's doing Lovecraft Country, actually. You know,
really fucking
racism is a real monster.
It is.
Megan talked about that.
I'm saying just people like the pitchforks and the torches. That's real shit. Pitchforks and torches is real shit. So yeah, all of us can be vampires, but when them folks get together and be like, all right, you know what? We're gonna settle this shit. It's what it is.
All right. So I got to recognize was that Nerd Huddle. He also said good morning, or they also said good morning. So
Morning.
all right,
Good morning.
Kev, we can go back to you.
Okay.
You broke out on right. I know you said John Byrne, but
Yeah.
what about your favorite artist? Or is that the same thing? You know,
And then, you know what? It's not, because I do like Byrne as an artist, and that's how I was first introduced to him. But I was first introduced to him as a writer artist, because I caught him on Fantastic Four. His beginning on Fantastic Four. I came to the X-Men later, but those back issues.
That's rare, because most people know Byrne from the Claremont Fantastic Four. I mean, X-Men run, but you know him from Fantastic Four.
Right, because I was getting comics. I hadn't discovered a comic book shop then. So you got them from the store. You got them monthly. Whatever month it was on, that's what you got. So finding back issues and stuff, I hadn't discovered that yet. Having a favorite artist and being able to stay caught up with them. So, yeah, but Byrne on Fantastic Four put me in the game. The storytelling games. Good epic stories, yeah?
Okay.
I know y'all agree. I know y'all read Fantastic Four.
Well, you know, because I'm friends with you, you've talked to me about so much of it. I feel like I read it.
Of Marvel when I was coming up. So I saw Fantastic Four. A little Fantastic Four would come up mainly because of Franklin Richards. From my experience of it. So yeah.
I was so tired of Franklin Richards, man.
Okay, what's with the Franklin Richards?
Are you tired now, or are you tired then? Like,
I was because
they warned him out.
The only good thing he did was Days of Future Past. That's the only thing I was like, you know, okay, that's the only thing that really made him relevant to me. I was so tired of, because he was just kind of like the Deus Ex Machina to me. So whenever they got into like a real pinch that they couldn't figure out, you know, Mr. Fantastic's fucked up, Johnny's fucked up, Ben's fucked up, Sue's fucked up. Here comes Franklin and his godlike ass ability to, you know, just make everything right, you know. And I'm kind of like, man, fuck that, man, fuck that kid, man.
And see, on the X-Men side, when Franklin shows up, it's all fucked up, you know, like they
had him fucked up.
He is the problem. Frank is the problem.
He fucked up the devil. You know,
I'm just saying.
Fuck out of here, Franklin.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna say this. I mean,
Like that Frank was so far from being the heroic character.
but look at this. You're talking about that Days of Future Present where Franklin Richards comes back from that messed up future to like, I'm just gonna change the stuff. You know what I mean?
was like, yeah, that's dope.
But
He
you
was
know,
from with Ahab. I forgot his name.
yeah, it was Ahab. He comes back and like, this is not the. He comes back to the X-Men's present, which is then with 1991 or something like that. Like, well, this is not how it's supposed to be. I'm gonna change stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, we're in a different timeline.
And he was dead. He wasn't even alive.
He was dead, which was an interesting twist. They were like, you died, so you sent your dream self back to the past to change stuff. Like, whoa.
But yet another example of like him fucking shit up again, man. Like, all right, let's let.
But I gotta respect the Deus Ex Machina didn't work in Days of Future Past because he got killed in that future. He got killed, and Rachel's the one survived, not Franklin Richards.
No, because he was the problem, like he's always been. Like, I don't want to get started on my Scarlet Witch rant.
No, I gotta disagree with that though. I want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
Days of Future Past. Its first introduction of Franklin Richards. He was still very young, as far as how they had dealt with him in Marvel. So they have moved him into that important, I guess, filling in the space in between, right? Now and then. That he's become this powerful motherfucker and a threat to everybody. That nigga used to just be Tattletale, right? From the Power Pack, right? So, I'm going to go back. I told you I'm the historian. But he is our example. He's our example of watching a character truly age, right? Yep, not just get 10 years older. But that motherfucker has grown up. But his grown-up story has been told in other timelines because they never thought he'd grow up. See, now he's grown and he's an X-Man or whatever you want to call him this week.
Yeah.
See, Mark, remember how I tell you I hate Peter Parker? That other than when the right people write them, it's this stuff right here. How everybody get to grow up except for Peter. That's all. I'm gonna stop. Y'all go back to what y'all talking about. He says when you talked about watching,
I can't argue.
That triggered me, and I'm gonna stop talking about it.
I agree with you too. But
Peter Parker stayed broke because he wasn't every man.
So and I hate
exactly.
That. I hate that.
That's why he couldn't evolve.
And that's why Peter Parker can't have a significant relationship and can't have a family in mainstream continuity because people want a every man thing. But Marcus, go ahead. What's your answer for favorite comic book artist?
Artist? Oh my God, man. That's definitely like shit, man. That's one that's. I don't even know if I have one now. I used to love Art Adams.
Okay.
I would probably have to say like Perez, man. George Perez. The work on Crisis, his work on Legion of Superheroes. Perez, man. Perez, like if you
King of the Epics.
If you need a big scene where everybody's involved in doing something, there's
see who everybody is clearly.
Yes.
Yeah, you could do that.
There's no one better than Perez. Clearly for that, and he was like really good at like showing like emotion on characters' faces and stuff like that. So dug in for that. The stuff on Teen Titans would like really kind of like almost traumatized the fuck out of me when I was a kid.
Why there's so much trauma in comic books that people don't know about?
And so Titans, first of all, there's a lot of the whole teen runaway thing. That was a deal. Dealing with Trigon, that was a whole deal. And lots of rape in Teen Titans, man. Lots of rape. Raven's mother got raped by Trigon. Deathstroke with that little girl. So that was another thing. Like I got old. I was like, why is she wearing all that makeup on? And why is he in a robe? And he's like 40-something. She's 13. Man. Creep Factor, man. Creep Factor 1,000.
Right.
And they let you draw it. They let you write it, draw it, and they printed and published that shit.
Yeah, they did. They're trying to come back on that now, though. They are.
Send it out to the masses like what? Like what?
But that showed us who the villains were, right? Exactly. Instead of softening the shit up, they were messed up.
Point. Yep. Point. Point. Yeah.
So there were, and that made the point to me. There was no saving Tara Markov, right?
None.
She could be as good as she wanted, but her character arc had to go downhill. She was scarred.
Yeah, but what does that say
That
about
was my
society?
Titans. Period.
But what does
Period.
that say about our
Period.
society
So,
now? That just because somebody was sexually assaulted by an older man and manipulated to do things, she's scarred. I mean, but you're right. That was the message back then, but it wouldn't fly now.
It
It definitely
depends
nah, I
if
wouldn't
you
think
want
work.
to see her.
she would be a Phoenix character then because she would renew and become greater.
Do you want
You
to see
understand
her?
what I'm saying? That's the intention.
It's like, do you want to see her as a victim, or do you want to see her as someone who's trying to take control of their own destiny? You know,
Well, yeah. What is the lesson? Is she making a lesson, or is she a warning?
It's your
right?
cautionary tale, or or inspirational
Exactly.
tale. I can overcome.
I
I don't
think she
know.
was better as a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
I didn't mind when the bitch died. Just let me say that.
Me
I
neither.
didn't mind.
Yeah.
Me
Well,
neither.
that's all I'm saying. You know,
But it
she
was
was
a
evil.
cautionary tale. Let me clean that up.
Yes.
It's a cautionary tale. We ain't advocating characters getting killed and stuff like that. Let me clean that up.
Sure. Sure.
All right.
Sure.
To go. You know,
Yeah, all right. And we gonna get into. I know who you want to go, Marcus. I know who you want to go. All right. So, Damon, who is your favorite artist? I think I
Okay.
know, but who is it?
You do know. You do know. It's too obvious. I gotta go with because like we were talking about writer. I almost said writer director, writer artist. We gotta go with Todd McFarlane. I want to say Wilt Portacio
Dude.
from X Factor. It's too obvious to say Jim Lee, but I mean that's one of my first people that I saw. Norm Brayfogle I just mentioned because Norm stands out to me because he was my entry point, and the way he would draw Batman, the way he would draw Robin, is something about what I appreciate is when you draw a character and make me more interested in them just off the visuals alone. And if what you draw can inspire a story in my head, you know, not a writing in sight, just a picture, and all of a sudden I got a story from your picture. That'd be it. So yeah, the way Wilts would draw my Archangel, the way Jim Lee drew Archangel, that's one of the reasons why I love Archangel so much. Is I see the potential in them just off of how they drew him. Alex Milea, because he brought something gritty to that to that Daredevil during the Bendis run, you know, and I liked their pairing. It worked very well. So you know, those. Oh, and I cannot forget, I gotta go with Mark Texiera because of how.
Yep.
You know, and I think that I would be remiss if I did not, at a minimum, give an honorable mention to Silvestri, Mark Silvestri, for the way he handled that Wolverine. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop right there because that's my list. That's me.
Can I throw one thing in? Honorable mention, man, Chris Cross.
Which one?
Chris motherfucking Cross. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. You're right.
I love the way he drew Holocaust. He made dude look so menacing and just so like he would do these things where it's like, you know, Holocaust was to do like with the fire powers, fire and vulnerability, super strength. And he would do these things where you would see his hands just lit up, but the rest of him would be in shadow. And he'd be like doing some shit like smiling, whatever. He'd be like, oh man, somebody about to get the business, man. He made Holocaust look scary. Like,
you know what just made me think about that? I wonder if that based off of show enough from The Last Dragon. When you said that, that's the image that popped in my mind.
You know what? That's a good point.
I never thought about it until you said it though. I'm like, man.
Wow, yeah.
And you know, I mean, I basically went to take Damon's list. Of course, you know, my first thought was Todd McFarlane because you know when I first started buying, you know, I had Amazing Spider-Man 300 too when Venom got introduced. He was drawing that, and of course that got destroyed too. That got destroyed. So, you know, Jim Lee, especially that Uncanny X-Men story he did where Wolverine had the flashback to when he met Captain America and Black Widow for the first time.
Yes.
That's what popped my mind in.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know, they were like, back together for the first time. You know. And I think I'll leave it at them too. Oh, and who drew Planetary? John Cassidy.
John Cassidy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
John
yeah.
Cassidy.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
all across the world in other stores, baby. I'm always
Yeah.
showing love to Planetary.
Remember on Miller's Run, who was the artist on Miller's Run for Spider-Man? I'm trying to remember dude's name.
Who was it?
Because I liked how gritty the story was and how easygoing the art was. It just did not. It was something about the juxtaposition of the two, and for me, it worked well. But I'm trying to remember who that was.
We may have to look that up. If anybody is watching, they know it in the comments. Just post in the comments because I don't know offhand who that was.
Okay,
so somebody may have to look that up and give it to us later on. All right,
yeah,
so
okay, we'll do it later.
Next question. Who is your favorite comic book character? So we're gonna go to Kev. Let you start.
Oh, that's pretty easy. My favorite comic book character is Nightwing.
Okay.
Dick Grayson.
All right. This is gonna be interesting. Let's
it's
go
Dick Grayson because of course, you've always known Robin, right? So you're aware of that character, but I came back to Dick Grayson, New Teen Titans, right?
Okay.
He was trying to grow up. So during that time, you saw him evolve and him realizing maybe these tights ain't too cool for a grown ass hero. So he takes inspiration, his two greatest inspirations, he said Superman and Batman.
Yep.
And created the Nightwing character. And it allowed Dick Grayson to grow the fuck up as a character. You know what I mean? So that he can be his own character, not just Batman and that most impressed me in comics for as long as I read comics. That a character grew up and it stuck. You know what I mean?
Excellent, because I think Dick Grayson.
So that's my character.
I think Dick Grayson is a better leader character. I'm not saying leader character. I'm a leader for the Batman. People don't want to admit that.
He's a better leader. He's a better leader. He learned watching leaders.
He is that.
And got a ragtag group of people, held them together, and created a legacy.
And
beat that.
And unlike Bruce Wayne, he didn't scare the hell out of him to do it. Because Bruce Wayne did that.
What now?
Dick is just Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne did that with Justice League, but he kind of was a dick to them, and I think he kind of bullied the outsiders as well. That's what I think he did to them.
Yeah.
I like your take on the leadership piece, because that is one of the things that distinguishes Nightwing from Batman. In some ways, yeah, maybe kind of like in the shows, like be a better Batman, But yeah, when it comes to leadership, it does require something that Bruce Wayne just inherently does not have in him. Bruce Wayne, over time, I guess, people kind of surrounded him and kind of collected in that Bat family, came together. But Dick, on the other hand, kind of seeks it out. He embraces people and knows how to position people and work with them, as heroes and as just regular people, and his ability to engage with people and embrace people. That's one of the things that a leader must do, and Bruce Wayne cannot do, which is why even with him being part of Justice League, he is and is not part of Justice League,
That's why I love the story the Unmatched story with Bruce Wayne, when his identity was revealed, and he was like, all right, well, I'ma just be Batman then. Everyone had a problem with it. They was like, because he was like, yeah, well, I'm gonna just like bring the crazy out. I'm not gonna hide it. And my scene was when they sent him to prison, and the Aryans were coming for him. The guards let all those people in his cell, and he was like, y'all think Bruce Wayne is a kid crying in the alley, and he fucked them dudes up. And he was like,
I remember that.
He was like, this is how psychotic and crazy I really am, and y'all about to get all of it. I just won't kill you.
Isn't that the one? He's like, I take my time with them because I can.
Yeah, I take my time with them because I can. So he's a sadistic fuck, man, and that's what it really is. Like, and his like refusal to kill isn't like out of any respect or sanctity of life. It's because he likes to inflict suffering.
Ooh, I missed that story. When was this?
Right there.
When was this?
That's a hot take. He talking about the Bruce Wayne fugitive story where Bruce Wayne got accused of murdering was it Jezebel Jet? I think it was. And basically he like, all right, well, I'm okay. I didn't do it, but since y'all think I did it, I'm supposed to be Batman full time. And Dick Grayson like, no, you can't do that. You can't.
And he wasn't wearing the mask. He's like, I'm Bruce. Bruce Wayne likes to fuck people up. Like, does Wayne Brady have to choke a bitch? it was that.
And him and Dick Grayson got into a fight in the Batcave, and the fight ended when they destroyed Jason Todd's case, the case of Jason Todd's costume. But he was going at it because he was like, "No, you're not gonna give up being Bruce Wayne," you know.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, man, that's not me. I'm Batman, and Batman likes to choke motherfuckers and fuck them up and hang them off buildings and go out and beat up drug dealers, man." Let me live my life.
But I'm gonna say this: Warren Ellis did that Batman the Grave story, and he's the one kind of put that image for, like, you know, when Alfred's like, I feared I'll just raise somebody, a rich man, I could go out and beat up on poor people at night. And once that scene hit, it just hit the internet and Twitter. You know, Twitter takes scenes out of proportion. I'm like, y'all gotta read the whole series. But Alfred did say that I fear I've raised a rich man that goes out and beats up poor people at night when he could use his money to make a more effective change in the city. And I've defended against that, but it is a factor.
It is the elephant in the fucking room. He could do more good for Gotham as Bruce Wayne. Wayne Industries could employ all of Gotham. Everyone in that city could have a fucking job if they wanted one from Wayne Industries.
But we've seen him do that. We've seen Wayne Industries do stuff like that, you know, until it didn't work no more. Until it don't work no more.
He's buying Batmobiles. So that's why I love Christopher Priest's story, The Hill. When Batman, like that's when you see Batman like in the ghetto, and like the brothers was like, they're like, what the fuck is a Batman? And he couldn't understand like why they weren't afraid of him.
Yeah.
And they was like, nigga, you corny. It was like Batman meets The Wire. It was like, dude, we out here selling every day. We've been selling every day. We gonna sell every day. No matter no matter how many people you beat up. And dude told him, he's like, man, they don't know, they're ignorant of you. That's why they aren't afraid of you, and that's their life. They were like, you've never been here. You've never been here. You are selective in where you patrol crime and shit. So great story by Mr. Priest.
All right, so on that note, let me acknowledge first of all, Hip Hop's and Me Team Heard Nerd Heard podcast. It's Hey Gents, Happy House of Nerd, Happy Sunday, and Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. And then I see our other resident co-host Elle, Happy Mother's Day to Elle out of Seattle, ATL by way of Seattle, California ATL, then Seattle, I think is where. Happy Mother's Day to you too, Elle. So I don't even know who do we stop on, Marcus? I think it's on you. Or is it on you now for favorite? Where were we at?
Where we at? What, favorite character?
Favorite character, yeah.
So you know what? I'm gonna have to go like large with this one. I would have to say my favorite character would be Sandman in the cast.
Okay, look at you, Kevin. Look at you being sophisticated.
Right.
Don't get mad at me how I live. Go ahead.
And I'm gonna say this because the way when we're introduced to like the Sandman character, he's like an all-powerful child. You know, and for someone for an entity that has lived so long and like really engaged with humanity, like I love how gaming shows like how ignorant he is of humanity. Like he has to learn how to kind of like deal with people and be a person. The lesson of Sandman is change or die, evolve or die. And everyone shows him that. Everyone has to show it. Even the devil, Satan has to show him that. Like, hey man, I don't like the way you move. I'm gonna fuck you up. But you know what? I'm gonna fuck you up by like teaching you a lesson. Here are the keys to hell. Deal with it. Deal with it, nigga. The keys to hell. It may destroy you, may not. Whatever. I'm having fun. Peace.
I'm going about this life.
He was like, Chris,
I'm going to a piano bar.
You know, I was going to say Etrigan, the demon, because I liked his consistency.
Wait, hold up. What was consistent about Etrigan?
Oh man, because he's a demon, right? And he's only bound to do good. He's only doing good because it's like, all right, I'm bound by the spell or whatever like that. But anytime he got loose, anytime Etrigan got loose or was freed, he went right back to like, okay, demon shit. Like, man, I'm fucking shit up, man. Every time.
You say every time.
Don't you get it? I'm evil. I'm the villain of the story. I'm just bound to do this because I'm stuck with this wizard guy. I'm stuck with him.
I think that's where they fucked up with Ghost Rider and making him a spirit of vengeance. He was more interesting as like a thing of evil chained, doing good. To me. But yeah, Sandman in the cast, he evolves, he's taught, and he's taught by other people, other entities, other people. They show him things. Most notably Death. When she hit him in the head with the bread loaf. It's like, are you stupid? And then he gets like, it was like, usually when you have a hero run, you have this history of them, and then someone says, hey, well, let's deconstruct him. So that's when, like with the Bruce Wayne fugitive, that was a deconstruction of Batman. The same thing with Daredevil. Like, well, let's see how he acts when everyone's against him. Ooh, that'll be like amazing. It's like it's been done time and time again. Sandman started out being deconstructed, and then you saw how fucked up his family was and Desire, and it was just like, all right, you know what? I'm engaged or tied into some toxic people. Here's how I have to deal with that. There were just so many fucking lessons in that, man, in the Sandman, and I had to realize that it wasn't just him. It was everything. It was the whole world in those stories. So yeah, that's me, Sandman in the cast.
I like Sandman. And me and Kevin talked about Sandman a lot. And my favorite volume of Sandman is Volume 7, Brief Lies.
Yeah, that's good.
And, where he was talking to destruction, and Kevin's like, man, you got to realize the point of this is destruction. Like, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You can just change your life.
Just change. Just do something different. You did what you're supposed to do. Move the fuck on.
Exactly.
It'll keep going.
Where they told him, you will be destroyed if you keep going in the fashion that you are going. Yeah. People are moving things around you to destroy you as you are. So you have to change. And his choice, he was like, well, you know what? I'll just pass this shit on and be nothing.
Exactly.
I'll die.
Exactly.
He was like, that's cool. I've been alive for me. I'll die. And I just thought that was just such, not like I'm endorsing suicide or nothing like that. No, don't get the message twisted. But, this thing have been alive for billions of years. And he was like, well, you know what? I can change. I kind of don't want to. So you know what? I'll just go and I'll pass it on to someone else.
Exactly.
Which is to Kevin's thing about Phoenix and Rebirth, because Daniel becomes the new Dream, the new Morpheus, and it's him, but it's not him. It's a new version of him.
Right.
Phoenix is a whole different story, man. That bitch is toxic.
You gotta stop calling him toxic.
It's true. She is creation and destruction. She's never gonna finish that process.
Fuck.
Ever.
And it's
so anytime you put Phoenix's name on anything, you are obligated by our culture, right? You are obligated to destroy shit.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. She is, creation and destruction. From the ashes rises again and stuff like that. I get it.
Right.
Yeah, but other people get caught up in her shit.
Right.
Well,
if you just gonna destroy
something that's caught up in Phoenix's wake,
Yeah, if you just gonna destroy your fucking self and be recreated, fine. But this bitch is destroying solar systems.
Everything.
You know what I'm saying?
Everything.
Fuck out of here. Like Scarlet Witch. That whole plays hopscotch with reality.
Well, I'm gonna hold you in the Scarlet Witch discussion. All right, so hold on a second. I know we're gonna get into this. All right, so Damon, who's your favorite character?
Okay, I think the one that I absolutely hate to have to say because it's so overdone now. Remember I told you I came in on X-Men, the Extinction Agenda, and right. I saw this dude running around with these claws. I didn't know what he was, good guy, bad guy, what. I did not understand this dude at all. And I was in the 6th grade. I was short and skinny. And here was this other guy who's short just like me and can fight, though. And I wanted to be like that. I wanted to be like Wolverine. That's one of my first heroes. Batman I always loved because, for obvious reasons. I mean, I got to give it up to Michael Keaton for that. But over the years, what I appreciate about the Bat is that he shows that prior planning, thinking, preparation, having the willpower to do a thing, I really respected that in the Bat. I gotta say, I love bougie women, so therefore, White Queen.
All right. That's what we're bad.
No, what I was liking about White Queen, though, I like the evolution in the character. I mean, she was, she started off, Hellfire Club, what have you. But even as she evolves with her powers, becoming the Diamond and everything else, becoming a part of the X-Men, she brought a tone and realism to the X-Men that I think that they really needed to hear. Which brings me to one of my ultimate favorite characters, Magneto.
Okay.
It's something about Magneto and a moment in Spider-Man that appeals to me as a black man. The moment for Spider-Man was in the Eric Larson run when Peter wanted to have a baby with his wife, with Mary Jane, and he then called up his homeboy Beast and said, "What is that like? Because if my child, I'm not a mutant, but if I have a child with her, my child would then therefore be a mutant. What is that like?" And I just like the fact that this man took the moment to recognize that he would be in some way, even no matter how much he loves his child, he's in some way different from his child, and he needs to make the preparations ahead of time by talking to people who would have the experience that his child would have. And I'm like, dude, that makes so much sense. I really appreciated that moment in him. But Magneto says something that, as I look around the world, I don't see where Magneto was wrong. I never did. Every time.
Okay. So you part of Magneto was right camp now. Okay. All right.
What do you say?
Oh yeah, I've been there with Magneto because as I got to know him, at first, he's introduced as a villain, but then when I'm reading what he's doing and why he's doing it, I'm like, or rather, why he does what he does.
What did Magneto say to Peter though, man?
Oh, okay. So what?
What did Magneto say to Peter though?
I don't remember what he said to Peter.
I don't remember that part. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. No, I wasn't talking about it. No, I wasn't talking about in a specific moment. I'm talking about Magneto generally.
Yeah, but you brought up this whole story and like
with Beast. Yeah. Oh man, just they just gonna have to deal with that, and they'll be all right. Just love them and so forth. I just like the fact that he asked the question.
Yeah, Magneto.
So that's your favorite Spider-Man character moment because I know you don't like Spider-Man. I know you don't.
I do not. Todd McFarlane.
I know do not like Spider-Man.
Todd McFarlane Todd McFarlane, Eric Larson, and Miles Miller are the only moments that I've ever liked Peter Parker. But that McFarlane run when he was trying to rescue that little boy because it was a three-way fight between him, Hobgoblin, and Ghost Rider.
Dope ass story. Dope ass story.
So man, that fight, and then Peter is actively he's trying to keep the two of them from killing each other, which I didn't understand. I'm like, well, do what you gotta do. I don't care. But he was trying to save that little boy. And seeing Peter trying to work his ass off to save that child, even though that child got a half a messed up face and all of this, he didn't care. He just wanted to save that child's life. And a man that's willing to go through all of that, and then when he got home, he was so busted up and tired. And I'm like, see, when Peter Parker complains, because he complains a lot, when he got home after that, I was like, that made sense. I understand why he's tired. I understand why he's busted up. Yeah, he needs to get home and get some love from his woman in that moment. He deserves it. He deserves it.
My favorite scene in that story, because I like the way they did it, because Ghost Rider was like, he was more of a force of nature.
Yeah.
Kind of unstoppable. Hobgoblin grabs Ghost Rider on the glider and like takes him up like, man, several stories, whatever, and drops him. And Ghost Rider's like, fool. Like, this ain't gonna stop me. Like as he's falling, he was just like, "You're a fool." Like, I'm gonna get you, dude. Like, that's it.
I'm a demon. So, first let me acknowledge this. I see we got another comment, y'all, from Hip Hop's Team Nerd Herd podcast. I got to start reading backwards on Sandman, so that's good. I'll say this much: Marcus put me on Sandman. I read it was Preludes and Reflections. And then once I read that, I got hooked and finished it all. So I gotta give credit where credit's due, Marcus. You put me on that Sandman. You did.
And I gotta give props to like the only black goth girl at Savannah State who put me on Sandman and Vertigo. Period. Dana. I forget her last name, but big ups, Dana.
All right. So answer the question for me, character. So I'm gonna tell you how this. Just like Damon, Wolverine was my guy. That was my favorite character. I mean, he was like, I'm the best there is, bub. I'm amazed by this. As an adult, I'm like, this is a silly character, though. It's a short man with knives coming in his hand. I don't know why I like him so much. But, Chris Claremont, that's a testament to Chris Claremont, his writing, because he turned Wolverine from a joke gimmick character into an actual, well-developed character. And
Yeah.
I rock with him throughout Uncanny X-Men because he was my favorite character. And and here's the thing, though. I didn't necessarily like Wolverine's solo stories as much, though. I didn't like it, but I liked them in X-Men.
They couldn't make it work. I didn't get to answer the character question though.
Oh, go ahead, answer the character question, man.
So I'm gonna tell this, and y'all know this. Before now he's been prostituted. He's a thing for the masses. But before Black Adam, man, y'all remember 20 odd years ago. Before in the movie and all this, I was like, do you know how dangerous this person is?
I remember. You talking about Suicide Squad. I know what you're talking about.
Black Adam and War of the Gods. And Black Adam was like, look, I need y'all to do this. Or I was like, this guy has like Shazam's ability, but no moral compass. And he was like, I need y'all to do this. And they're like, well, why should we do it? He said, because I will make every person within a 100-mile radius scream and die in agony. And he was like, and I have the ability to do this. And they were like, wait a minute. Speed, super strength, stamina. Yeah, he can do it. Yeah. All right, we got you. And then later on, they showed him do it. Remember he killed every person in Balaya, that country?
Yeah, he did. He did it.
Yeah, he did it. But in the Black Triangle, when he first got to Kandak, the Black Triangle story, and the JSA would stop him. And they're flying in their JSA jet like, we're going to stop Black Adam. And he just flies through the goddamn jet like, fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? Crashes
and that's why I like the Black Adam movie. People be hating on it. Like, I like it because it's reminiscent of that story where basically they tried to stop him. And you and I talked about it then, Marcus, with when he had Atom Smasher and eclipso and Contact. He's like, this is not going to end well. And it did not end well at all. It's not going to end well.
No, I didn't. The movie could have been. I got that's another show.
That's a whole nother discussion.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show. But yeah, So my thing is like with the comic world, the universes in particular, is like you have these rogue running around with these abilities that they're not even like, really checking for. Like, I'll give you another one, Bizarro. Why in the fuck is the universe suffering a Bizarro to live? You know how frightening, you got a Superman that's mentally challenged, just running around, doing shit.
Well, it depends. I mean, in Silver Age, it was a whole Bizarro planet. And I guess in modern day age, Bizarro is a Lex Luthor creation now, Yeah. So.
And yeah, he could.
If they're holding on to that again.
Yeah.
Because New 52 might be different.
But I think to both of your points. I mean, you brought up, Marcus, the film version of Black Adam. Mark, your question being, what's your favorite character? And I'm sitting over here talking about Batman and everybody but Iron Man, and got the Iron Man shirt on.
Right.
Now this one I'm going to tie it all together. It's funny to me that in the MCU they have managed to deliver. Some of the actors have managed to become so iconic in their roles that, like, such as Hugh Jackman. When you picture, I've seen Wolverine since I was 11 years old, but the picture of Wolverine is Hugh Jackman. You have people that have done so well in their roles. I think that they've exceeded their characters. So, like one of my favorite, I did not mention him because he wasn't in the comics. RDJ is not a comic book character. He is an actor. But he made Iron Man for me. And I'm like, yo, I love Iron Man off of RDJ.
I think he portrays Tony Stark well. Tony Stark is a dick.
Tony Stark is a dick. He is a dick.
And RDJ portrayed that well. I'm rich. Okay. I got money.
But also, Tony Stark is an addict as well. He's an alcoholic and he's a sex addict. They drink that as well.
Yep. I'm an asshole and I drink, bitch.
and I'm a womanizer, and I'm
Right.
rich. And I can get away
But
with
I
it.
make dope shit.
But I
And
make
I get away
no
with it.
And see, he was totally RDJ brought when I watched Iron Man, I had heard of Iron Man, I was aware of him, but he was on the Avengers and that cosmic stuff that I wasn't dealing with. I was all about the mutant books. So when I saw Iron Man, I'm like, oh, okay, I am feeling this dude, you know. So, but then I like Batman. So I mean,
because most people who like Batman also like Iron Man. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they're self-made and stuff like that, and they're rich.
You know
well, it's
what
not
it
even
is?
just the self-made part. I just like the fact that they're smart enough to outsmart other people. You know, and that they can be on par with the superpowers, the gods, and everything. They can be on par with all of them just off of how smart they are.
Are they really on par with him though? So
yeah,
I think the
like
historian
Batman can go toe to toe.
I think we know you and Batman.
Yeah.
Prep time.
I'm going.
I think the historian will agree with me on this. What it is like in comics, we've seen an evolution from the Mystery Man to the Superman.
Okay.
You know, the Mystery Men were men of ability and know-how and will. So that's when you have your can I count the Spirit, Crimson Avenger, maybe all of that. Oh, they got the cars, they got the money, and Batman is of that. Then you went to the Superman, men of extra like paranormal ability, men with super strength, super speed, and all that. Batman is a throwback. He is probably one of the last surviving mystery men in this media.
Okay.
Probably him and
the first
Phantom.
Shadow,
Yeah.
Phantom, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
I get what you're saying, but you're right. Batman is probably the
He
preeminent mystery man. You know, so Zorro, Phantom, the Shadow, Batman. You know,
and they're explicit about the Zorro piece. So yeah,
all them fools will be killed now by these X-Men and Fantastic Four. They be done. Be done. Out of here. I don't care how smart they are. Hawk is grabbing Batman and snapping his fucking neck.
Nah.
I don't care how much.
I mean, physically they could do that, but Batman.
Physically they could do it. Thank you for admitting that much. Physically they could.
Physically, yes. Batman will lose an arm wrestling contest, you know, to Superman.
Batman will lose an arm.
But they're always
arm wrestling.
But
First of all,
lose arm
Batman
with any of
the
them.
contest.
When
That's why
Batman is
When
going
he
to die
gets
of
through
testicular cancer because he has to get that kryptonite on him because he's worried about winning Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? That's how that happens.
Rough crowd.
Woo! I mean,
Rough
it happened to
crowd.
Lex Luthor in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Lex Luthor died of cancer because he had that kryptonite
That's
ring
it.
on him. You know? So hey, I mean, I get it. Kevin, did you get a chance to answer the favorite character question? Did you get a chance to answer that one?
Didn't I say Nightwing?
You said
Yeah,
Nightwing.
you
Okay,
Yeah,
all
you
right.
said
Dick Grayson. Yeah.
All right. So let me. So I said Wolverine, but then I'm gonna say Cyclops because Cyclops is like Batman and always prepared but strategic. But then I like the whole Cyclops. Cyclops was right. He was right about everything he said during the whole. No more mutants. We need to get organize. We need to defend. We need to do this stuff. He was right on every part of that.
Yeah.
But now,
Right now, he was like, man.
But he's still a dick. Scott Summers is a dick. How about that?
hey, probably you're probably right. You're probably right.
I swear they hate on Scott Summers so much.
But
I hate him for him. They write him that way though. They write him that way.
Well, that's all he is written.
He didn't the love he deserved in X-Men movies. Because Scott Summers basically has come up with plans to save that team when they should have clearly lost. He did what you did with the Saturday Night with Dick. I took a bunch of people who did not get along. Wolverine did not like him and made it clear, I don't like you. I'm gonna stab you and take your woman the first chance I get.
Try this bitch every second he had free. You know what I'm saying?
But he did the thing. But what messed up Scott Summers was his women. I'm not women ambition, but his choice in women. Because women like Scott Summers, but the ones
Scott Summers,
I told you I
Scott
like
Summers and Wolverine is the pretty Tony Goldie in the match. You know what I'm saying? Well, you know how we gonna do this, Mr. Tony. You know what I'm saying? Now we can play this like some gentlemen and get into some gangster shit.
Oh, we can get into some gangster
shit. Nigga. That's what that is. That whole scene. Google it. That's Scott Summers and Wolverine.
I see it, but then the people got mad because Scott Summers eventually became the Phoenix, and the first thing he did was he killed Xavier. That's the first thing he did, You're
And the
not my
second thing
father.
he did was get waxed by goddamn Dr. Doom.
Yeah. And then he died, and now he's back, and now he in this real, weird kind of trouble. Is it that word? Couple trouble with Wolverine and Jean Grey and their kids and stuff like that. But I would say my number one character right now.
X-Men, I was so confused because Hickman was writing it, and it was the House of X and something else of X. I mean, I was buying them.
House of X and Powers.
I'm reading them and confused as hell. The whole from beginning to the to the end. I was like, what?
I mean, it's designed because Hickman moved X-Men forward, but I'm gonna tell you the best person to come out of House of X, Powers of X is probably Storm. And I said Al Ewing is writing a master class on Storm and X-Men Red. I will down that hill right now. In fact, and Kevin Marcus, y'all may agree with me because y'all read some of the older books. I don't think Storm's been written this well since the Claremont 80s, when she lost her powers. Like, I'm gonna define myself without my powers. I'm Storm to lead the X-Men. I don't need my powers to fight. I don't need my powers to be in charge.
Who broke
and she
up?
proved it.
Who broke up Storm and Black Panther? Because that's the artist, the writer I like the least. No, I hate right there.
Mark Millar, he did it during Civil War.
The way they write
Storm, my favorite gotta be my hated. Okay.
It's so problematic. First of all, I mean, in terms when a different writer gets Storm, they always want to put her with somewhere. So they try to make this black woman pretty much the whore of the Marvel universe.
I disagree with that. But I see what you're
going. She didn't get Wolverine time. She didn't get, she's always shown kissing somebody, which is symbolic of her like getting down with them. I think what you want. That's the way I feel about it.
And I've argued that because I didn't read Wolverine and X-Men that Jason Aaron, who's also from Alabama, wrote. But I was like, no, she did. But somebody found it for me and said, well, you didn't read this series. She wasn't.
They don't do that with Storm. They've done it with Scarlet Witch, but she's problematic anyway.
But maybe that's why I like X-Men Red so much, because Storm and X-Men Red is like, I don't need anybody. I'm Storm. I control everything. And even this sense essentially just finished, Storm was the only person to not, well, she's one of the few people on that on the round table not to get taken over by Mr. Sinister. And she basically they tried to like gang up on her jumper. She's like, nah, I'm Storm. She basically blew the whole thing up. Like, I didn't forget me like that. Y'all ain't catch me sleeping.
Wait, look! If you got folks out there, you all start a petition. Start a petition for me to be a Marvel writer because I will fix this. We're gonna establish, Storm and BP, King and Queen, and do the thing.
But to be fair, Storm.
Everybody doesn't know how to write Storm. Have to survive, man. Black couples do not have to survive. They go through couple shit like everybody else.
They do, but this is the one. This is the one.
Let go. Let go.
Let go, brother. Let it go, brother.
Let go.
But I want to say this with Storm. Storm is she works with certain characters. Like Al Ewing is a good writer. He gets Storm. He not, even this whole thing with her and Magneto, they were like, they weren't together as a couple. They was like, all right, look, we on this thing on Arrakon, we on Mars. This celestial, who was it? Uranus is coming to attack. We finna do this. Magneto had a hole in his chest. And he's like, I'm gonna throw some lightning at you. We gonna make this work. Storm is like, I'm the leader. I'm the queen. This is how it's gonna be. Now they setting up for a fall though, because she trusts Colossus right now. Colossus been compromised.
Yeah, compromised. Yeah.
Yeah, but she don't know that. But up until now, Storm just she been on it, man.
But Storm can kill Colossus easily.
Storm can kill anybody.
Kill a lot of people easily.
Storm can suck the air from your ear and kill you that quickly.
But I mean, just metal on the metal electricity thing. She got it.
Yeah. A lightning bolt will do it, because a lightning bolt will kill organic material and let them turn into metal. There you go.
I mean,
Storm can kill anybody, man.
But I'm gonna go to it right now. Storm is my favorite character right now. All right, so here's the one I know y'all been waiting for. Favorite comic book story. It could be a run. It could be a book story. Run, arc, whatever y'all want to do. So Kevin, I'm gonna shoot over to you.
Oh, okay. See, that's a hard one for me because I'm old.
Wisdom, brother.
And a lot of different stories have touched me.
Okay.
But the one I continuously go back to is I'm going to say the first 20 issues of New Teen Titans, the whole epic, up until they finished dealing with the Titans of old, before they started the direct market shit.
Okay.
That was the best New Teen Titans stuff they had, because it was the first time you saw the Titans of myth, right? from the beginning of New Teen Titans. They introduce a bunch of heroes, and of course, the incredible Deathstroke, Slade the Terminator, one of the best villains in comics.
To the point where he ain't a villain no more.
Yeah, just the best George Perez art. The best George Perez art. Huh?
I said,
what do you say?
I said, let's raise that pedophile up. But no, he is a dope kid.
He's a villain. Listen, I'm not crazy. He's a villain.
Right.
He's a villain.
You are right. He is a villain.
He is a villain.
And villainy should not be limited. No, I wasn't knocking.
I ain't done. I'm not dealing with you. They just don't need to try to make them into heroes later.
Exactly.
So these anti-heroes, they try to make them heroes later and say, "Oh, this sells." It's like that motherfucker. He assassinated people. He was going with an underage girl for a minute just to use her.
But it's redemption now. He's redeemed now.
Let go of redemption. Let that redemption shit go. Some shit you don't need redemption. The lesson is he's a foul person.
Mm-hmm.
He's death. It's in his name, Deathstroke the Terminator. How you gonna make him all right? He don't kill people. He just hurts them real bad so they learn their lesson.
Nah, he kill him.
He kill him.
He kill him.
That's been his job.
Hey, I mean, you know.
And none
his
of these
wife
heroes,
his wife wanted to kill him, man.
Yeah, and none of these heroes that's working with him now don't be like, hey man. Green Arrow ain't like, hey dude, you like little girls, dude.
Yeah, I know your history.
What the fuck wrong with you?
Well, I mean, the last in Deathstroke Inc., Black Canary worked with him, but she didn't want to. She was just trying to get information. But she was like, I was like, nah, you ain't finna kill nobody. We ain't friends. I'm here to watch you and make sure you just, you stay on mission. And of course, he went off mission and became the bad guy in that New Titans in that. Was a Dark Crisis, and he basically, him and Dick Grayson kind of went at it, which was a phenomenal issue. He basically shot Beast Boy in the face and the eye. That's why Beast Boy got this patch now, because he shot him in the face and the eye, tried to kill him. But they said that he was controlled by the Great Darkness, or the Great Dark. I don't know what it was in the end, but But it was that issue in particular when Deathstroke and Nightwing fight it out in Titan Tower after he shot Beast Boy. That's probably one of the best issues I read last year coming out.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it came out last year. So
okay,
we got you. All right. So Marcus, what's your favorite comic book story run arc?
Man, I'm kind of torn. So the first one, they're like, first one I kind of I wanted to say Legion of Superheroes, the Great Darkness Saga, because it's like Darkseid. The synopsis was Darkseid woke up and came at these fools like Darkseid can only do, and they weren't ready at all. They weren't ready at all. And like they were like, yeah, Darkseid was like, wait a minute, I'm in the future? Ain't no Superman? Oh, I'm about to run these
Rex Shop.
That was it. That was the purpose of it.
There's a few stories of the Elementals. The one story I love is when the Elementals, Porter Scott, was on a plane with some folks and they crashed in the Arctic. And they were getting attacked. People were turning up dead. And no one knew why. So Porter Scott goes through this whole thing where he's like, all right, you know what? The flame pistol's gone and we got few rations. He starts, because he's trying to find out who's killing people. So they are stranded and someone is killing people. People are like ended up dismembered. He's like, it's one of us. And it turned out like the killer was this chick who he was dealing with. She was the pilot and she was a werewolf. And she's like, we were trying to keep a secret, but we were hungry and all of that. And in the end, he was like, so he ends up killing her with the flare pistol. Because he had hit it. Wanted to make them think. And in the end, he wrote this letter. He was just like, in his report, to the government, he was just like, yeah, I might add this. He was like, I had asked her to marry me, like before all this shit went down, and she said yes. So I loved his sense of will in that respect. And I really respected the way he manipulated the whole situation. He was like, yeah, you know what? We low on food. And the flare pistol's gone. Just to get the murder. I mean, it was kind of fucked up. It's kind of fucked up. But he got him. But yeah, so those That and that Great Darkness saga. Because Darkseid was like, all right, you know what? They ended up bringing Superman back from the past to help stop him.
Yeah, I remember that. You put me on the Great Darkness saga. That's something else you gave me, and I read it like one night. I was like, man. And to me, the Great Darkness saga is in the end when they lost, Cosmic Girl, Lightning Lad lost one of their kids, and he became Validus. You know,
Validus,
yeah.
Like,
yeah. When he cursed them in the end. He was like, yeah, you know what? I'm out. Y'all done beat Darkseid. Big ups. But, you know, take this curse with you, the curse of a god, and I'm going to steal one of your kids and make him one, you know. No, it was like the biggest fuck you in comics to me.
It was, man. Paul Levitz just crushing little kids' dreams left and right. Just terrible.
Fuck that hoe. Darkseid out.
All right, David. What do you got for your favorite comic book story or art?
All right, geez, man. All right, I've been trying to think about it. It's been a minute since I read some of these. I keep wanting to go back to Extinction Agenda, and I'm like, I've been leaning on that so long. I want to go outside of it. I think the death of Superman meant a lot, you know, because you know obviously the point of Doomsday, you know, just to see where he came from, where Doomsday came from, the fact that he was in fact Kryptonian and not just some kind of monster, but he was an experiment in evolution that, you know, went for thousands of years or something like that, over and over and over, killing a Kryptonian baby, cloning it and bringing it back over and over until you get the perfect killing machine. What I appreciated was the fact of what Superman was willing to do, you know, in order to save the world. There is a moment when there is a little girl that was about to get hurt, and Superman, there again, in all of his, you know, in all of his power, was willing to put himself in that line of danger, tired and everything else. He did that, you know, and he won, but it took everything in him. And then I think back about how Lois had to sit there with that situation. I remember the cover of that, and it's kind of like that Pietà where you had Mary holding Jesus. It was a little bit like that, where it was Lois holding Superman, and so in that moment, I was like, wow, you know. So that's one of those stories that really stick out to me. You know, I just thought that was just really poignant. You know, I like stories like that, and there's one other that I really like, Extinction Agenda. I got to go back to it as well. That was my first comic book, you know, series I just read. What I appreciated about that was that, you know, I didn't know anything about the X-Men, but I appreciated what as I was understanding them, what they were about, and the fact that they were trying to fight just for their own, just to be able to live, just to be able to be themselves. And then you have people that are actively trying to kill you, and then trying to literally enforce an extinction upon your people. And they fought back to the best of their ability. Some of their people were enslaved through this, and then some of them were able to, you know, be free of it and liberate their friends, the other mutants, from that, and be able to rise up and end the that specific battle, that specific struggle. I think that that's a poignant story unto itself. I think that it doesn't get the credit it's due because, you know, it was the 90s, the way things were going in the 90s, you know. So there's that stuff that I just, there's one other that came to mind, but after I talked about Death of Superman, that I think that's pretty much the main thing for me.
I like Death of Superman. Of course, I had that as well. It was stolen as well. So,
Right.
You know, I'll be like, I had all this stuff. But, you know, Kevin, I'm surprised what you didn't bring up.
What?
Alpha Flight. I'm surprised you didn't do Alpha Flight.
Wow, yeah.
You know, I talked about Alpha Flight a lot.
Oh man,
Alpha Flight was ahead of its time.
Another can I?
It was way ahead of its time.
No,
It's way ahead of its time, and it was the best John Byrne stuff he was doing, while at the same time doing Fantastic Four. But I think, and we've talked about this, he came to a rhythm. He made it a year-long story, and it paced itself out a year long. beautiful. Characters were introduced. An issue introduced each of Alpha Flight as they built them up before the team got together. And the design of the comic was basically, it showed these different heroes, and then at the end of the year, gather and fights a big villain somewhere in Canada.
I wish
until they killed them all.
Snowbird back right now, man.
You wish they would request?
They killed, didn't they kill her off? Snowbird's gone, isn't she?
Snowbird.
She's another one.
Oh, but
I love when they introduced the Great Beasts, the whole thing, and they were like, all right, you know, like Alpha Flight, this is a villain. And Snowbird was like, they're like, why is she turning off Pharaoh and Savage is trying to kill dude? Because Snowbird was like on site. It's on site for them. She's like, it's on site with these dudes, man.
On site. That's it.
Hey, Mark, I just thought about the other one that was one of the most poignant to me that I could not remember. It was Flashpoint, the introduction of Thomas Wayne. I love as much as I love Batman, to be honest with you, I love Thomas Wayne even more. Because I like the notion that this man lost his baby and effectively lost his wife, but this man lost his baby, and from that point on, I mean, he wants to avenge his child, but because his relationship with death is different from Bruce's. Bruce
like
avoids
Thomas Wayne
the gun.
because he kills people, Damon.
Say what?
You like Thomas Wayne because he kills people, man.
Makes better sense to me, but
that's
but then when Bruce Wayne, when he finds out that Flash was friends with his son and everything that Thomas was willing to do just to help him on the faith of that, I'm like, I mean, I love Thomas Wayne, dude. I love Thomas more than I love Bruce.
I get it, man. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, I know. But Thomas is my dude. You don't play with somebody,
man, I think in that movie, in the animated version, man, I think like the saddest shit in the world is when Flash has to run back through time to let his mother go. That shit gets me. Yeah, that shit gets me.
But see, this is what I don't understand about that. Everybody's like, you know, Flash is wrong for saving his mom, but it was really Reverse Flash that changed time initially that put him on that trajectory. So really,
that is true, because originally, remember, his mother lived, and when Jeff Johns took over Flash, then his mother was dead.
The way the DC universe is structured changes. So DC universe is multi-dimensional, but not multifaceted as far as time. If you change the timeline, everything changes. Marvel has it where something different in time can happen and it creates a whole new timeline. I mean, DC does that too, but it changes the same timeline. You see what I'm saying? Marvel is like, all right, well, this person is from another timeline. He can come here. The DC timeline is the same. It just
I'm talking about the morality. You know, is that to me? I think that people are treating Barry wrong to say, you know, if Reverse Flash, by definition, if Reverse Flash goes back and kills Barry's mom, then he was the one that changed time. And if Barry goes back and saves his mom, then he's fixing time to what it originally was.
But it's not on it's not on the agent that changes time. It's on the incident in time. When the incident in time changes, it changes the reality.
Right. So that what they did,
no matter who did it.
So he's fixing what was done.
In why time went back to where it was, where his mom is dead.
And so Barry's not wrong if he's putting it back to where it was.
Well, so by your rationale, had she lived, it still would have been fucked up. It still would have been fucked up.
He still was going to be a Flash.
He still was going to be a Flash, but the rest of the world would have been jacked up had she lived.
Okay.
She was supposed to live.
And so you got to look at
you're talking about now. You're getting into utilitarianism. The greatest good for the greatest number of people.
We under this whole thing. You got to realize DC continuity has been rebooted a few times. So you got the Silver Age, you got Crisis on Infinite Earths, which reboots it. Then you have 0 Hours, reboots it, and then something else to reboot.
And see, that's the point where
Flashpoint happened to do 52. So
Can I bring up an honorable mention as far as story?
All right, go ahead.
Hellblazer, Son of Man.
That's another classic. It's classically messed up.
It's my favorite Constantine story, period. It gets to the nature of the character, man. John Constantine, I don't care how they portray him now, he is not a hero.
Right.
Not at all.
He is a rogue with magical ability who sometimes does good things. But in the end,
he's always seemed roguish to me.
He's going to save his ass.
He's a
so basically, the storyline is this old school London gangster's son dies, gets hit by a car. He gets Constantine out of a mental institution because he had dealt with some shit he couldn't deal with after he sacrificed that little girl. He sent a little girl to hell, so he had to go to the loony bin because he doesn't have a conscience, so he had to go crazy instead of like dealing with the guilt, you know. So he breaks him out of loony bin, and they were like, "Hey man, you need to do something for this dude, this London gangster." He's like, "What?" Shows the son. He's like, "Bring him back to life." He's like, "Man, I can't do that." And they were going to kill him, his sister, and her child, his niece, if he didn't. And so what he did is he summoned a demon, put the demon in the child's corpse, the gangster's child's corpse.
Yep.
And walked away.
Gone for like 20 years.
20 years, and that shit, you got a demon that's the son of a gangster, and that shit came back. That shit came back fivefold. And he had to deal with it. And basically, the nature of the demon was like, it was a rape demon. Like it was jacked up.
Well, no, you found the worst part was like in order for the boy to stay young, the demon to stay young, and the boy he was getting aborted fetuses from prostitutes and eating them to stay young. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yep, that one and the Hellblazer story about when they summoned the spirit of Jack the Ripper and put it in one of the royal family, and it was a demon. Those were some good ass. That's my honorable mention. I don't want to take up. We can move on, man. I just had to bring them up. Yeah, Garth Ennis, man, did wonders for Hellblazer.
Garth Ennis because he doesn't like superheroes. But you know what? Speaking of that, I'm gonna talk about one of my favorite runs is The Boys.
Oh, okay.
The Boys. Okay. We were reading The Boys when it came out single issue. We were on that every month when that came out. The Boys is one of my favorite comic stories of all time, especially the issue. Marcus, you remember it when a Homelander said something. Look, the dog Cherry was there, and Homelander go do some dog, and Homelander and Bullet was just like, if you touch one hair on that dog,
it starts right now.
God, right here and right now, it's going down.
He said it starts. All the bad shit I got in my pocket starts right now.
And Homer's like, you're not afraid of me. He's like, no, I ain't afraid of you at all. I ain't afraid of you at all. We gonna go right here, right now.
See, I hadn't read The Boys. I know the show, obviously. The Authority, I think that's the one that you used to talk about a lot back in Embarcadero. Yeah. And you used to talking about from Garth Ennis. I thought you were gonna go with Punisher, but okay.
Well, Punisher bad. Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say something about that.
Use Punisher to show how much he did not like heroes. That Wolverine episode, man, where Punisher kept fucking Wolverine up. Like it's like, yeah, he can heal, but you know what? He has like muscle and tissue. I mean, it'll heal. He has an unbreakable skeleton, but let me kneecap him. And you know what I'm saying? He did horrible things to Wolverine in that episode, man.
I tend to like the soldier. So when you talk about Deathstroke and Punisher, stuff like that, I mean, hell, I went to the army, so I always like the soldiers. I like the juxtaposition of Punisher and Captain America. Two different visions of things, and both are valid, but just two different visions. And I did like both.
For instance, the current run on Punisher, Jason Aaron's doing what Punisher is he's the head priest of the Hand, where he has the demon inside of him. I like that. It's reminiscent of what they did with Daredevil years ago, where Daredevil was the beast of the Hand, but it also reminds me of Garth Ennis' Punisher Born when Punisher was in Vietnam. And basically, Marcus was out of death. He's like, embrace me, Frank. I'm your guy. I'm the guy.
I do remember something about him in Vietnam.
You know what? I love Moon Knight. When the whole go between Moon Knight and Khonshu, the Moon God. And he was like, and Khonshu was like, there are others who are more devoted to my to service of their deities than you. He was like,
he's Punisher's example.
Yeah. He was like, look at him. See how he bears the emblem of his, his benefactor. And, Moon Knight was like, well, go get him again. Moon Knight was like,
how much
go get him. And Khonshu was like, alas, he belongs to another.
But the thing is, Moon Knight and Punisher. I mean, sometimes they get along, sometimes they don't. It was a classic scene. He's like, "Hey, Frank," and he was like, "Hey, Spectre." He said, and he's like, "Frank." I think Punisher said, like, "You still crazy?" He said, "Your family's still dead, Frank." He said something like that too. Like, oh,
Well, everyone avoids Moon Knight because Moon Knight is like bona fide crazy and like not just mental illness. No, he's sick. No, he's crazy, violent. He's all of that. Moon Knight is the pariah in the Marvel
Moon Knight
universe.
is a sadist because he's basically what we talked about earlier with Bruce Wayne. I take my time because I can.
That's the Batman. That's Moon Knight is the Batman that that Damon wants.
But I like when they introduced Mr. Knight when Warren Ellis, his run on Moon Knight, classic. When he introduced Mr. Knight as a detective and stuff like that, and just dealing with weird stuff.
I love that run. I love that run when he was rocking the suit and everything like that. Yeah, I love that run.
And of course, when Jeff Lemire got it, and he was like, "Well, is Moon Knight really crazy, or is this all this stuff really happening?" Which the TV show kind of really took a lot of that. You're like, is he crazy, or is he really talking to Khonshu? Mm-hmm. And I think we come on the fence. He really talking to Khonshu at this point. But
I mean, well, why can't he be both? Why can't he be talking to a supernatural deity and be crazy?
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. It's comics, anything goes.
Because not because he's crazy, but it's both. That just adds to it. I'd be crazy if I was talking to.
But then you know what? I think crazy is a context-driven thing too. Like what's considered crazy in the moment where you are at the time of your situation. So
crazy is putting a white suit on at night to fight villains. How about that? That's crazy.
You got a blind lawyer running around in a suit kicking the shit out of people, ninja trained blind people. That's some crazy shit.
And speaking of runs, I mean, I would give the Daredevil Bendis run. That's one of my favorite runs. I was able to go back reread that over and over again, especially Decalogue when they talk in the room and you don't realize that Matt Murdock is in there the whole time they talking.
Yeah,
that is one of the most brilliant reveals I've ever seen in comic book.
Well, what I love about that run is when the dude outed Matt Murdock as Daredevil.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And Daredevil was Matt Murdock was like, "Well, why is this happening?" And dude was like, "I said what happened, and you stood in front of all these people and you called me a liar." And he was like, "That's why I'm doing this." Called me a liar in front of everybody. When you gaslighted me, basically. You know what the fuck you were doing. I called it out instead of being honorable. You know what I'm saying? You found it more convenient to call me a goddamn liar. And he was like, "And fuck you." And then Kingpin killed him.
And I think he sued the guy who wrote that story too. Like he sued him too. I like that.
Yeah, he sued him. Yeah, he was like, yeah. You called me a liar and you sued me, and you was on your bullshit. Like that's how far your bullshit goes, huh? You gonna take me to court, lawyer? You couldn't let it go. You couldn't come to me and be like, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, you got me, homie. Let's let this slide. Greater good and all that. I'm Daredevil. I do a lot of good. Let's let it ride." Maybe you could have appealed to my better nature. You didn't even try. You called me a liar, and then you sued me. You bitch.
Also, I want to add too because I think he gets a bad name nowadays too. Bendis is running Avengers, starting from New Avengers to Mighty Avengers to Dark Avengers. Okay. I'm gonna give him credit. He basically made a series.
I gotta reread that stuff. I got all those.
Think about it. He made Norman Osborn the leader of the Avengers. He made Norman Osborn the leader of the Avengers.
I mean, that's so anything.
And Donald Trump became president of the United States. I mean, shit.
But anything with Norman Osborn. So I remember. So two things about Norman Osborn. One good ass story, the Tangled Web story, the Spider-Man that series where they were Spider-Man villains. Spider-Man. It was stories about Spider-Man villains, and it was from their perspective, like Shadow of the Bat. And the one where it's like the villains meet up in this bar, but you don't know who they are. It's like Vulture, it's Scorpion. They're just having a drink, and it's one dude who you can't see. He's in a coat and a hat, and they're talking about, Spider-Man. Peter Parker's an asshole. Well, Spider-Man, he's an asshole. They're like, man, he beats the shit out of us, and he jokes.
Yep.
Like all the snappy repartee, and the dude in the coat and the hat, who you can't see his face, like, well, he don't do that with me.
He don't do that with me.
like he do that with y'all. And they was like, well, what's so special about it? By the end, they're like, what's so special about you? He's like, man, I kidnapped his girlfriend and I snapped her neck. And everybody was like,
damn.
And it was Norman Osborn. And he was like, this round's on me, fellas. I'm out.
No, but
you see him ride away in the glider.
Remember that Ultimate Spider-Man where Norman Osborn had teenage Peter Parker scared. He said, boy, I will beat you with an inch of your life and keep you alive and do it again and kill everybody around you. He had that boy throwing up. He had that boy so scared he was throwing up.
In that series they had called The Post, where the female reporter was interviewing Norman Osborn. And she asked him one question he did not like.
Yep.
And the next scene, he is in goblin costume.
And dropping off inside the building.
No, he snapped her neck first.
Yep.
And murdered her and dropped her in the damn lake. In the damn lake. So yeah, man.
Which is weird. There's a Golden Goblin story out right now for Norman Osborn.
I'm not reading that shit. I'm not reading nothing with Norman Osborn. I don't. In Amazing Spider-Man, which has been good so far. Well, Norman, I'm going to trust you again. Nigga, no. You should never trust this person again.
Ever.
He killed the love of your life, man. Bragged about it, laughed about it, countless times. You know what I'm saying? So many episodes where he couldn't stop talking about it. Hey, yo, you know I killed your bitch, man, right? You know what I'm saying? Remember that? All right, now let's.
Well, it could be worse. You know, they retconned the fact that Norman Osborn had sex with her, had babies in sins past. That was a dumb
storyline. That was a dumb storyline.
You know,
so, again, coming at this high school girl, this mid-40s man.
No.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
And it reads like he was so powerful, I couldn't resist it, you know. And that's why I had to go to Europe and have the babies and stuff like that. I thought, I'm going to read that.
A whole nother episode in this male-dominated industry is about how women are portrayed in comics. That's why when Gail Simone did Women in Refrigerators, you know, her blog, you know, about how they did Green Lantern's girl.
Kyle Rayner's girlfriend. I remember that. Yeah.
Kyle Rayner's girl, when he killed her and stuffed her in
the fridge.
Yeah, Major Force did, I think.
Major Force, you know, that's another like rapist turned villain. They've shown his origin. He raped and killed someone, and it was like that's the thing with him, man. So I don't know what these guys are going through. You know, what's their relationship with women are, and you know, yeah, there's some people out there. You're gonna have some villains out there like that. Fine.
Well,
I don't think it should be a over recurring theme though.
What about Dr. Light in Identity Crisis? Remember he did it to Sue Dibney.
Yeah,
you know, and then they basically lobotomized him because of that.
It's like dudes are like, you know what? I'm thinking of something. What's going to drive this story?
And Brad Meltzer wrote that, and I liked it. And Identity Crisis is a good story to me, but it was shocking.
I know. Rape. Or the editor's like, hey man, throw a couple of rapes in there.
Maybe it has a lot to do, I guess, with people's life experiences, or not. And when I say life experience, not that they've actually done it before, but
we hope
what their concept. You hope, but what their concept of the worst thing in the world may be. So, like, if I'm writing a story, rape would not be coming to my mind. If I'm writing a villain, my villain is going to be, you know, some kind of white nationalist, because that's the thing that right now is occupying my mind when I think of what is evil in the world, you know. And so mine will have some of that in it. And then, of course, Magneto type characters to fight them, and then having the dialectical experience like you see between X and Magneto. Of like, how are we going to deal with them? Are we going to kill them or just beat the hell out of them and let them live? You know, that would be, and I would have variations of those stories coming from me.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not against rape and storylines.
Oh, no, I get your point. I mean, that's the fact of lingering on that. Always that. I get your point.
If it's integral to the story, fine. I think sometimes it's just added in as flair. And it's like, you know, so when we talk about villainy, we're not always talking about evil. You know, a villain can just be someone with a conflict of interest. You know, hey, you want this, I want that, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get what I want. And your wants don't matter. And that's why I'm this negative force in your life, because I have to accomplish what I need to accomplish for whatever reasons. Not because I just like wholesale slaughter or whatever like that. I'm slaughtering you for a purpose, my nigga.
Yeah.
Hurting you for a reason. There's some good behind.
But see, that's the only well-written violence to me, is that I like to see a violent story, don't get me wrong, but I don't like it when it's violent for no reason. Like, why are we doing this? Why was this necessary to make this happen?
Sometimes it doesn't.
I think that happened in Preacher. I think that's what turned me off for Preacher. I got tired of reading Preacher. I was like, if they called somebody N-word one more time, I see one more gratuitous act of violence in Preacher, I'm done. And I saw it, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm done.
Sometimes it doesn't need a reason. Like Sabretooth, gratuitously violent, but I'm like, cool with Sabretooth.
Who's also been recognized as an anti-hero now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now.
He's still a psychopath. Still a psychopath.
They try to turn a lot of villains into heroes now. Because when they try to turn Omega Red into a hero, that confused me.
Well, he's part of X-Force, the Black Ops X-Force now. So
this confuses me, because I've been away. Like I said, I've been away for a couple of years from the books, the pages, and so when I just look up one day in the X-Men group and I'm seeing Omega Red is part of X-Force, I'm like, the hell? How did this happen? Sabretooth made better sense to me, but make Omega Red.
Sabretooth has been on. He's been on the X-Men. In fact, really, the heroic depiction of Sabretooth starts in Age of Apocalypse, but it's continued on in Marquelon in Exiles. Exiles was an excellent story that showed a group of ragtag heroes dropped in these different worlds, and they just got. And I mean, and sometimes people would make it, sometimes people wouldn't. You know.
Mm-hmm. What was that? What was that? Where with Blink? That was the one with Blink, right?
Yeah. Well, Blink, Sabretooth, Mimic, Morph, Nocturne, Scarlet Witch, and Nightcrawler's daughter.
The best one in that
Morph from so he made it from the cartoon to the pages.
Yeah,
like Harley Quinn. Okay.
Because Judd Winnick was the first writer of Exiles, and I think Tony Perdard took it over, and Tony Perdard took it a whole nother. That's when he introduced King Hyperion.
No, he took over Morph. And they showed like what would happen. Like they were doing a scenario when Proteus took over Morph, and they were like I think he kills them, destroyed the planet, and they were like, yeah, and this was just in the first 15 minutes. Like they showed him killing the whole team.
Right, and the solution was we're gonna brainwash Proteus and think he really is Morph because he's stuck in Morph's body. Right. He won't burn out Morph's body. That was the solution. Because he can't even figure out who he is, because in this body he basically won't die.
But here's the thing about Proteus. Proteus, another reality bender, you know what I'm saying, but had to like consume people to stay alive. So in the current run of X-Men, they figured out a way to give Proteus a body.
Right. And he's part of the 5 now.
He's chill.
Right.
He's so chill, he's almost a non-entity. So when Proteus got in Morph, he couldn't like Morph is a shape changer, so he couldn't really consume Morph physically, because when he inhabits someone, he consumes them physically too. And Morph was able to his body could just continually regenerate.
Right, that's what it was.
But he was still like a universal evil, and who was drawing that? Because I like that.
Was it Paul Paulider? Was it
Paul Paulider? Yeah, Paul Paulider.
I'm surprised I remember that.
Yeah, Paul Paulider. The art was dope too.
That was another series I could go back and reread from beginning to end over and over again. Exiles. I mean, it was brilliant. It got canceled, and I think Chris Claremont had it for a second, and that was what would you say earlier, Kev? Like sometimes you got to stay what you're good at. Chris Claremont, may have unfortunately he may have passed his best years.
It's basically a continual X-Men what if
Chris Claremont fell off, man. That bothers me.
I don't like people to say fell off, but I mean it's the same people saying about Bendis now. People hating about Bendis. I mean,
what other stories they got? What other stories they got? Obviously, they don't have no more stories.
You got no more
stories. Like I have to say with Claremont really he emptied himself with X-Men.
He wrote X-Men for 20-some years though.
That's what I'm saying. So everything he wanted to touch, he touched. Who cares what he says about Superman? They ain't gonna say that just sounds like something you tried to say about Colossus or whatever. You connect to that story or whatever. So Chris Claremont couldn't win, even when he was doing smaller independent stuff or big independent stuff. They're just like, this ain't X-Men. This ain't X-Men.
My problem during X-Men was when he was doing these really silly stories, and Mark had that same point that you had, was that it's like he emptied himself, and I'm like, if X-Men is a social commentary and we're seeing stuff happen every day and things are getting crazier and worse, there is always another opportunity to make a social commentary about what we see in the world.
But
There's
that's
always
but the world changes, though.
Somebody else to do though.
Right. I mean, think about it.
Someone else to do.
Think about X-Men. Chris Claremont moved X-Men. I think the next writer who moved him was probably Grant Morrison. Well, I know Marcus didn't like all his stuff.
Oh God. Oh my.
But he did move him a different direction. And then Josh Whedon, who's also in trouble right now, he moved X-Men in a different direction.
Josh had
Grant Morrison just
love
goes to something, and he's like, "All right, man, I'm gonna just make this shit crazy. All right, I'm gonna take the established history and toss it in the toilet, and then I'm gonna just pull out."
Well, I know Kevin's gonna say something about that because Grant Morrison, this dude, I know
that's how I felt what he did with X-Men. He's getting up.
I thought he was gonna say something.
I'm glad you on that X-Men because that was some of my favorite writers. I ain't gonna lie, that was my favorite on that Cassidy because it was Whedon, Cassidy on that art. I'm trying to remember which.
That's it. It was Josh Whedon and John Cassidy, Astonishing X-Men.
Yeah, but what was the name of Astonishing? That's it. I knew it was
that was it.
I think
Josh
I think Morrison is better with his own creations. Now, what I did, I loved Whedon's run on X-Men.
That was it. Yeah,
I love but Whedon with his like weird thing with women.
Well, Whedon is in love with Kitty Pryde. I mean, I've seen that somewhere online. That he's in love.
He's
with
got
Kitty
a weird thing with women. Kitty Pryde, Buffy, whatever. He writes them good, writes them strong, but like he wants to make them weak. He do got mommy issues.
That mommy issue thing came in left field, but Kitty Pryde, that scene in Astonishing X-Men, she talks to Emma Frost like, you were my first idea of evil because I was 13 years old. You kidnapped me in a plot with the X-Men. When I think about evil, I think about you. Or that fight between Beast and Wolverine in Astonishing X-Men. He said, "Man, you're not some sister in freshman dorm. You're an X-Men. You can't be trying to think about taking no cure, no cure." And they went at it.
No. When Cyclops got with Emma Frost and Wolverine is sitting at the end of the bed, like
that was it. That was it.
Like, healing is this. He's what stage of healing is this.
And all you saw was dude get straight blasted, which Wolverine deserved. Like the full optic blast, dude.
No, my favorite part, especially in the end, when they started how Cyclops basically decided he could control his powers and stuff like that. In his head, he was able to control his powers. And then he was like, to me, my X-Men, I was like, this is when I was like, Cyclops was right. That's what I got from that thing.
He showed how deadly a telepath could be with Sandra Nova. Yeah. When she made Kitty Pryde believe this whole thing that she had a child, but didn't have one from Colossus, and that it was taken from her by Xavier, and Colossus is walking. Kitty Pryde, she can phase stuff, and all of a sudden you see this axe in his head. Yep. And she's holding it. She's like, "You took my baby."
Yep. She's like, "You took my baby."
I'm gonna unphase this axe, brother. And I was like, "Ooh," and and she snuck up on him because she's a ninja. Because Wolfie taught her that. Yep. So, he really, played up her abilities. But, yeah, dude, he got a weird thing with women, man. I ain't taking it back.
All right. So, I guess last question before we get ready to finish to get out of here. Favorite comic book movie? And I know we've all had various discussions on this. I know I'm going to end up on, but I want to hear what y'all got to say. So, Kevin, you start.
Wow, now you make me think. But what do I go back to repeatedly? Fuck.
Oh, I know.
You ain't here for dinner.
Huh?
I'll just say I enjoyed was it Justice League?
Justice League
current movies.
The Snyder version or
either one. The initial version that came out. Just because those were really the first heroes that I really connected with, and to see them in live action does it for me. That's all. That's all. And even to see, what's the name, Jason Momoa as Aquaman, I ended up really liking him as Aquaman and really liking the choice of the Wonder Woman character. So I like their choice of actors.
She was good. It was a good selection. She was.
Yeah, and it worked. It worked. I even like Cyborg.
All right, Marty, what you got?
Man, you know what? There's no film that really sticks to me. I will say this. The Daredevil series.
Okay.
Yeah. Daredevil series. And I loved it because, man, they got it right.
Yeah.
Got it right in terms of characterization, motive, The villains, Vincent D'Onofrio's portrayal of the Kingpin was on point. Everybody was on point. Like Bullseye on point. I look at that series and I be like, man, this is how you fucking do it.
Okay.
What I also enjoyed about it was, looking at it from the standpoint of a lawyer, you're trying to be there for the community. There's not a lot of money in that, and you're trying to do what you can. There's financial issues that's involved in that. But then he's also using the whole lawyer thing as his own intelligence gathering operation that supports, in terms of the operation, supports what he's doing out there in the field, so it's all connected, his lawyering and his superhero. So I did appreciate that. I'm with you on that.
Is that going to be your choice as well, Daredevil?
He influenced it. I need to be a little bit original though. Let me rock with a series. On a series, it's going to be Luke Cage because I love that Cottonmouth.
Okay.
I love that Cottonmouth.
I didn't expect that.
Nice. But for a movie, one movie, I was about to go with my man Tony Stark, but it's got to be Captain America: Winter Soldier. The idea of doing a political thriller, and that's when it really occurred to me what Marvel was doing. Each of the movies, it's not just a superhero movie; it's a genre unto itself. The what do you call it? The Ant-Man movies are heist movies, and that kind of thing. And Captain America was doing, in that case, it was doing a political thriller. And to have Robert Redford, who also did 3 Days of Condor, but this time as a villain. I was feeling where they were going as a genre movie, because even if it wasn't a superhero story, if you look at what the story was saying, the structure of it, the penetration of the government and all of this, I'm like, it's a strong story unto itself. And to see Winter Soldier come in and the way, oh my God, fight scenes, the Systema, the combination of Systema from which is the Russian martial art from Bucky, and then on the other hand, you're seeing the jiu-jitsu and the and the boxing from Captain America, and mix the two together and watch how they go. That was phenomenal.
They were also really good in the fight scenes with portraying as far as like strength level and stuff. Like, so you notice when like Bucky is fighting, you only see the strength with the arm.
Yep.
Right.
They were real good with that.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I mean, Winter Soldier has some of the best fight choreography I've seen in any movie. I mean, superhero movies, a lot, but just fight choreography, just general. It's just the fight choreography is really, really great in that. But for me, I'm surprised nobody said this, man. I got two picks. Number two, to run it up is going to be The Dark Knight Returns. Because that's the first comic movie I saw. I like, this is no longer a comic book movie. When old girl when she was like, and he was trying to find Rachel and stuff like that, and he found Harvey instead of her, and she's like, "It's okay, Harvey, it's okay." She knew, and I knew she was gonna die. And when she died, this is no longer a comic book movie at this point,
right?
And Heath Ledger deserved his award, his Oscar for the Joker, because he played the Joker crazy. Joaquin Phoenix Joker, I get that, but I think that glorifies the character. I think Heath Ledger's Joker, like, this dude is unhinged. He is unhinged, and he is dangerous because he's unhinged.
I mean, he even said, "Do I look like somebody with a plan?"
Yeah, I'm like a dog chasing the car. If I caught it, I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Some man want to just watch the world burn.
That's it.
Exactly. That's what Alfred said. I mean, and I think they perfectly conveyed that. And my number one is going to be a bit of a cheat. I'm gonna say Avengers Infinity War Endgame, because to me it's one big movie.
It's one movie.
It's one big movie.
I'll let you have that.
But for that scene in the end that we had waited for years, when he says Avengers, well, first of all, he picked the Mjolnir. I want people in the movie cheering at that. I mean, that's one of the moments. I mean, you had to be there to experience that. Like, people, he picked it up, and Thor was like, "I knew it." And he said, "Avengers assemble," and the whole squad came.
Yeah,
I've watched that moment on YouTube several times.
Can I point this out? It's a real meta moment. It's to your point about that movie. What I appreciate, again, as one movie, what I appreciate is at the very end for Endgame, when everybody's coming back, like they're literally coming back, from death, whatever. Okay. Well, they've been hidden, but they're kind of coming back from death. And to see T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, it's like watching Chadwick come back to life, because Chadwick literally did die in real life, whereas they all died, in the movie. He died after the movie in real life. And so when they all come back, I'm also seeing Chadwick come back. So there's kind of a meta moment for me, but yeah, I'm with you on that.
I like that too, because I think people were so excited to see Black Panther, T'Challa come back at the thing first. They're like, "Oh, snap, it's Black Panther."
Everything he did leading up to his death, and like what's missed, what hits me now with Chadwick Boseman is like he knew it was coming. Yeah. So everything he did going up to that was on fire. The Five Bloods he was on, even though he had limited roles in that, he was on fire. But probably the best one was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
That's it, Black Bottom.
Yep. Oh my God.
That was
like
it.
When he does that scene where he's cursing God and all that, I have to leave the room, man. I have to leave the room. Because it's so real. It's so real. Like when he's just like shouting out his rage at the universe for his condition, and like none of us knew that it was an actual condition.
Now I gotta go back and watch it again just because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That was it right there, man.
That Black Bottom was it.
Yeah. All right. So we are about to shut it down. So I'm gonna give anybody got any parting shots, Kev? Anything you want to say before we head out?
I gotta read more comics. That's all. I'll be up. I'm out the game.
And I'll say this much, man. I said this much. Now's the best time to read comics, because basically you can read them digitally, and you can go on YouTube and find whole synopsis of the entire run,
breaking everything down. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
Now's the best time to do it, man.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Marcus? What you got? 100 shot.
Man, I really enjoy conversing with y'all brothers, man. That's what I gotta say, man. We gotta do this more often, man.
We got
4 horsemen, baby.
Yeah. The 4 horsemen of Embarcadero.
Yeah.
The 4 horsemen from Embarcadero.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Dan?
Kev stole mine, man. He stole mine. I just got to get caught up again. It's been a minute. But there's a book that keeps coming to mind. I've talked about it earlier. I'm gonna go back to the Law of Superheroes and start studying up on that, so I can be a bit more versed on it. For the people that don't know, I practice law, been in the military and all the other stuff. And so I like to try to bring, a little specialty to this. But there's another book about Milestone that I'll share it next time. But it was talking about Black superheroes and the evolution of all of that, and what all went into the creation of the Black superheroes and expansion of them, and also gets into society in general. I thought it was an excellent
Robert Kirkman did a whole documentary on it on AMC, man.
Yeah, there was a documentary. So next time we talk about it, because I got it on digits too. I'll share it next time. So,
well, all right. Well, I appreciate you fellas coming on. Like I said, this is one of my solo shows. This is my first solo show, so I appreciate y'all doing that. And hopefully next time, like I said, I want to shout out everybody who's looking at this, to visit the House of Nerds Show website, which is houseofnerdshow.com. We do have articles on there, because there's a team of people who are constantly reviewing books and different contents, not just books, because it depends what kind of nerd you are. We got anime nerds, cosplay nerds, role-playing games nerds, whatever kind of nerd you are, it's a place for you at the House of Nerds Show. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and take us out.
That's what's up.
All right.
That'll work. Peace.
Peace.